Association's annual meeting, and thanks for coming out on a beautiful day. And I hope as you walked in, you saw one of the reasons for this being an extra special meeting, because it's DSCA's 25th anniversary. So, been a lot of years and a lot of founding people. We have former presidents at the table up here, and we're really happy to be excited celebrating that later after the town hall meeting. So stay for some food, wine, and some cake. So with that said, I'd like to introduce our board who's been with us all year. And so happy Jamie, our vice president, Clark, our treasurer, Judy Moore, our secretary, Carrillo, Roger Berry, Ken Sheelan, Kathy Sellers, and without Patrick Gannon, I would die. So kind of a wingman, and really at times kind of co-president of your association. So we're a special recognition to him. Peter Fanning, also just a great bunch of people and individuals. So thank you for everything you do and all the support you've done to be here in the community. So as far as an agenda for today, and this is where parliamentarians and Patrick and Peter, you can help guide me through some of the required bylaw kind of stuff. We have a secretary's report and approval of the 2022 minutes. I think those were circulated. Were there any comments or corrections to those?
I have reviewed the extensive minutes of the last meeting. They're very well done, thank you. And I move approve. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Adopted unanimously. Moving to our next item, I guess it is election of our board of directors. Patrick and Peter, can you talk me through the way I should be wording this section?
Well, first of all, we have established a quorum. We received 19 proxies for our. We do establish a quorum from the members, so 19 of the 36 committee members submitted proxies approving the submitted list of 10 board members continuing on. So we do have 19 affirmative votes approving the current board members.
Great. So at this point, then we need to just, we have the proxies, and any further discussion on this? No? Okay. Moving ahead then to President's report. I'll reaffirm here the DSCA mission representing downtown interests and important community issues, and later today we'll have a town hall where certainly we'll be getting into discussions of community concerns and issues on everybody's mind. Our members, as Patrick mentioned, our membership list here's I think an updated list of all of our members. We've had a couple recent, fairly recent. We're really pleased that the Ritz Quay people became members 4 or 5 months ago, and then 100 Central is applied and will undoubtedly be approved as a new member at our board meeting tomorrow. So these are a list of all of the various areas represented by DSCA. It is our 25th anniversary, and again, we look forward to celebrating that at the town hall. We hope to have a number of city staff members with us, so they'll be hearing what is, I think, going to be an interesting panel discussion. you know, just to refresh all of our memories, the DSCA border is greater downtown. It's in the area of 1.6 to 1.8 square miles. It's about 7% of the city's land mass area. We estimated it's about 12,000 population in the season, and has likely accounted for roughly 60% of the city's population growth over the last 5 years. And looking ahead, it may do that again, going from you know, up to 15,000 people. There are about 1,200 new residential dwelling units under construction as we speak, plus in the neighborhood of 1,500 planned. If you follow any of the city meetings, there's a development review committee meeting. Without getting into the weeds, this is a group that reviews new projects coming forward for site plans, and not a week goes by. They meet every 2 weeks, and it seems every 2 weeks there's another 2 or 3 new residential projects for downtown, one including a large one tomorrow. At the Quay, you're familiar with the Quay property, there's going to be over 700 new residential units in that area alone. So again, we'll probably reach 15,000 population greater downtown by 2030, and increasing from, call it 22% of the city's population to approaching 25% of the entire city, which is going to be in the neighborhood of 60,000. On the real estate front, just to kind of touch on where things are going, the number of sales have decreased, but the median sales price continues to increase. And I don't even know if I like to report this number, but it is a number. And the median sales price in the greater downtown now for the first quarter, the data just came out yesterday, for the downtown area is now over $1 million for the median sales price. That is about, since 2016, that's about doubled. And so these new residents, people keep coming, and they keep coming from different areas. We've got more folks from even the West Coast and other areas of the United States, not previously here. So, you know, there's the trend line. Again, you just see a pretty constant blue line being the median sales price. And even with high interest rates and borderline recession, the sales are decreasing in numbers, but the prices are, call it, in the same ballpark as they were last year. So as we consider next year, we've got a backdrop of new construction, taller buildings, likely taller buildings that are going to bring to downtown some challenges with regard to staging. Where are the construction trucks going to go for these new buildings in a densely populated area? And our town hall, I know that's going to come up and to some extent be discussed, but it's a concern. 25% more people, bringing restaurants and retail, and with the restaurants, the popularity, including myself, of outdoor dining and at times potential noise and other kinds of issues. So one of the things on DSCA's mind we're ever vigilant about is how to maintain and enhance pedestrian experiences and safety. The pedestrian experiences would include trees and advocacy for trees and maintenance of open space as we continue to grow. And final and important point here that, again, is a DSCA advocacy matter is how to have as residents, meaningful input into zoning and projects as they come along, rather than it be administratively approved by city staff without some degree of input. So some of the initiatives your DSCA has been working on has been just that, this meaningful, what we call meaningful input relating to zoning text amendments for density bonuses. I think you all are aware the city is looking at increased density, in other words, more units on a given area of land, and to incentivize more attainable housing. So those are moving forward. I'm happy to say that a group of the DSCA board and committees had some input in this process, and we'll see what the city comes up with. Another thing, engineering design criteria manual. This is an important element. We have a meeting with city staff on May 18th. This manual governs right-of-ways. In other words, the public right-of-way, think of it next to the curb, as far as policies related to a pedestrian space and what is being called amenity space. The amenity space, hopefully, and I think there will be some positive changes related to space required for trees, a 6-foot amenity strip, which would allow canopy trees, and that's one of the areas that the DSCA board is advocating for. I'd like to think that with Patrick's help and others, we were successful. You haven't seen it yet, but as part of the Gulf Stream roundabout, there is going to be landscaping adjacent to that, and the original plans for that called for a whole bunch of palms and a whole bunch of kind of ordinary kind of landscaping treatment, and we were successful in getting into that process and having some successes in getting more canopy trees in that particular area. Also, we've been inputting into the city's green building policy, and we're actively involved in that. And we're also, the CCNA is another kind of sister organization helping represent more, generally speaking, more neighborhoods. There's about 30 neighborhoods in the city. CCNA's main focus tends to be on areas outside of downtown with many more single-family homes and not as nearly as densely packed as we are downtown. So what we've worked on this year, and I'd like to think we've had some successes, is the Rosemary Park is going to be happening. We're told that that should be constructed hopefully by the end of the year. Of course, there's also the Bayfront Park. That work is going on there, and that's to some degree more children-centric, and really happy about that. And of course, the Bay Park, which DSCA has not been that involved with, but if you haven't been over there recently, it's just unbelievable. Other areas, streetscape efforts on Boulevard of the Arts and 10th, and now Main. The Boulevard of the Arts and 10th projects, our grants have been applied for. It's in the budget. The design work is underway. The gestation period on a lot of this stuff is quite a bit longer than one would like. Let's just say that it's kind of underway, and hopefully, step by step, grants are applied for one. These can be scheduled in the coming years. Another thing I think DSCA has been somewhat successful in is advocating for fewer sidewalk closings. If you walk around downtown, you will have seen a couple of years ago numerous sidewalk closures here willy-nilly, and we think we've got the city's attention now to be more mindful of trying to keep those open. I make the viewpoint that yes, it costs some money to close a sidewalk, but if you're selling $2 and $3 million condos, you should have that money to invest in keeping those public things open. And the Ringling Bike Trail, that has been a nice success in which Roger Berry, our Transportation Committee Chair, was involved in our board and advocating for it. We continue to advocate for additional traffic and pedestrian safety matters, and I think all of us know about the success of the trolley, and and the hope is that there can be ways to leverage that, to learn from that, whether it be the resurrection of the I-Ride service, circulator bans. Oftentimes we'll talk about parking needs, but it seems, even though we have varying parking needs, it can't be looked at out of context with mobility needs, and that's something that we're working on. The other area that I would pat DSCA's back on is working relationships. I think that our board members, we show up at city commission meetings. I know Ken was there yesterday, Kathy is there frequently, a number of you are there. City staff and the commissioners know that DSCA shows up and is engaged and is watching these meetings and is looking for productive engagement with our commission. I think they see us as an honest broker, as an advocate in a reasoned, middle-of-the-way road, and I think that is relationship with the city continues to be good. We continue to be annoying at times, but I think we do that in a professional way. The other thing is, I think DSCA, with some of the buildings at the Quay, we formed new members and new friends, if you will, at our various buildings. New Ritz Quay comes to mind. Even the Baso condos at the Quay, if you're familiar with that, that's the new building. They should start occupying that October, November. It seems at this point there are 149 units. We've already engaged with some of their early residents and hope to bring them into DSCA fold when they get moved in. Facts and data. That's another area. I think I talked about this last year, where I and members of DSCA, we like to follow numbers, whether it be on real estate trends or population or tax contributions. We like to, when we go to the City Commission, we want as much as possible to speak with facts and figures to help back our advocacy, to show people that we are 12,000 strong and we are going to go to 15,000. How do we work together to plan for that future? Where is the money going to come from? And the other thing that I think we're trying to do is our DSCA member benefits. Some of you were at the insurance-focused cost of living in paradise workshop a month ago. Very well attended. I think we had a full room and got some pretty good reviews. Jamie, thanks for you did the lion's share of pulling that together. And then later today we're going to have another, a little bit of an experiment town hall dealing with areas of concern and so forth. So we're trying to continue to be relevant to our membership. What are your needs? What are your wants? What are your concerns? And be responsive to that. I should add that in October, we're planning another workshop event, and we're beginning to plan for that. So if you have input on the kind of workshop that would be valuable to you and people in your building, and please let us know. So it's one of our events we will begin planning for here shortly. And initiatives for the following year, I mean, it's kind of follow through on what we've got going. Some of the, like Boulevard of the Arts, is to try and get that project, what they call shovel ready. So if the money's available, it can be there. And I should have, let me digress for a second. Main Street, there is a move now to begin doing research into planning for what a reinvented Main Street might look like. And again, the timeline for some of these things is quite a bit longer than we would like, but you know, the journey begins with one step, and it looks like the city is indeed preparing to queue that up, you know, for some additional conversation. And as I mentioned, the Rosemary Park, I'm sure hoping that gets done. Quality of life wise, we continue to follow wise ordinances and the enforcement thereof. And again, meaningful input and trying to, again, stay in front of the city with this knowledge of the growth downtown and trying to maintain a wonderful quality of life as we get all of this new construction. At this point, I think that wraps up my remarks. Are there any new business items that, Patrick, were there any, did any of the members have any new business that you want brought before the board for consideration? Jim?
The proposed Obsidian project on North Palm, is that in your purview? It's a condo,
Yeah.
and it's in the city, downtown.
Yeah. What Jim is speaking of, and I only recently became aware of this, it is before the Development Review Committee tomorrow. This is a project on Palm Avenue, more or less across the street from the Palm Garage. If you can visualize, there's a series of 6 kind of strip businesses there, a barber shop, I can't remember what else, 1 story. This is proposed to be a 18-story, 14-unit condo, but here's the kicker. It would be 347 feet tall.
Nominally 346, twice as high as Bay Plaza.
Yeah, so twice as high as Bay Plaza. So obviously, one of the challenges is the definition of a story. These luxury units are now in the area of 14 feet ceilings inside, and then they have a couple feet in between the stories, and then parking. And before you know it, they're up to 350 feet. So from a DSCA standpoint, I can say DSCA has historically not taken positions on individual buildings. We have, however, taken positions on process and engagement. And I think that the concern, the extra level of concern about this project is, like with other downtown projects, it can be administratively approved. That's what I mean. Tick the boxes as far as the zoning code, and then city staff would approve this, a building permit would be issued along with a concurrent staging plan, and it gets built. And Patrick, you're the planning board expert here. Am I saying anything wrong?
I think that's correct, unless there's some adjustment or other zoning code change or something like that out of the ordinary. If they're just following the zoning, then it'll go through the administrative review process. But citizens can send emails to the assigned planner within Development Services, as well as the Development Services Director, Lucia Panica. Maybe here today.
Yeah, Lucia Panica was registered to come to our town hall a little bit later, along with Steve Koval. So I'm sure this is going to come up and be under discussion. I think, as Patrick said, unless they're looking for an adjustment or something that doesn't tick a box, that the leverage of the city is problematic. Now, the root cause is the zoning is wrong, right? And that's an issue that's going to take a while to fix. But, you know, the other element of this project that is very problematic is where they're going to stage this. Because if you think about that area, I'm not thinking of any empty fields or parking lots or anything that would be available. So this could be a mess. I wish I had a better answer for you, Jim. But I mean, DSCA has historically looked at process, and like on the one park project, the process used there, the master plan, that's kind of a special, a little bit of a special case. But this project would be another 50 feet, I think, taller than that. So it would be, if this happens, gigantic.
50 feet taller than what?
Well, than the one park. The tallest building, unless Plymouth Harbor is
25 stories.
Yeah, it's 25 stories and will probably be shorter than this. Yeah. Anything else? And this list may be a little bit out of date, I apologize for that, but DSCA, how can you get involved? And we could use some help. And we've had some additions to some of our committees of late, but I would urge you, if you're concerned about some of these matters, reach out to me and others, and we would love to get you involved in some of our committee work, inputting to the process, and then you know, being part of the people who help formulate a DSCA policy to take forward to the city. There's a lot going on, and we could use some help and get representation from all areas of downtown, which is helpful because everybody you know, has a different particular concern, or everything is sometimes different. And so I'd just like to thank you all for coming. Yes, we have challenges. You know, there are some good things happening. If you, depending on where you stand in the new Performing Arts Center, that was discussed at the City Commission meeting yesterday, and that is moving along parallel with the Van Wezel repurposing potential, so that will be moving ahead. And you know, get involved. If ever there was a time that downtown needed more voices, it's now. And I want to thank our board and for their support of me. I know a bit unusual to work with at times, but we certainly try hard on this. So, is there any other business I'm forgetting?
Well, I'd just like to make sure we open for any other member comments. For one, personally, I mean, at the board, and doing the event planning, we'd like to know what other topics folks want to hear about. We'll be covering in general a lot of the concerns this afternoon, but as we plan our fall events into next year, you know, give us ideas, either comment now or talk to Jamie and others here. Others here who would like to speak up, if there are things you'd like to see covered that aren't being covered.
Jim?
I think in the city, sidewalks are paramount. And besides the lip service that we've heard from the city manager and others, there's been no real demonstration that sidewalks are at all walkable in the evenings, Lower Main, Upper Main. And the city commissioners last year gave away a lot of the sidewalk clearance and decided that 5 feet clearance was enough. So I'd like to see somebody come in and talk about the importance of sidewalks and what we're doing about them.
Jim's asking a question about sidewalks, and I'm aware as of part of the zoning changes that are being envisioned by the planning department is a relook at requirements in the right-of-way, and I believe what they're talking about is 14 feet from the curb and 6 feet of what's called amenity space, i.e. for tree or plantings, and then an 8-foot sidewalk. And to help accomplish this, I believe they are going to look at increasing the allowed setback on primary grid streets. I know this gets a little technical, but on a number of more main streets, the allowed setback at the present time is 0 to 5 feet. They're going to increase that to 10. So I believe that as part of zoning text requirements, changes that the planning department is looking at, harmonized with the DSCA, the design criteria for right-of-ways, that I think the city staff I've talked to have themselves believe and have gotten the memo that the residents are interested in this green space and more canopy trees. So I think in the coming even 4 weeks, I believe more specifics on this are going to be known. So I don't know if it'll fully address your
well, walkability is one of the important criteria, and that goes to that.
The walkability, and can be 15,000 of us not too near in the future. I mean, it's certainly, Pam?
I just wanted to bring up the possibility that I've attended CCNA meetings and the RDA meetings and all. What I'm hearing from the residents, we live in the Renaissance, and then at CCNA it came up. There seems to be perhaps maybe the need to talk about how to create safer communities, among our different neighborhoods where there's condominiums and all. I found that there was a lot of concern about lighting or lack of lighting, and who do you get to do lighting, and the same with the sidewalks and things like that. Patrolling, we get a police report each month from the city at CCNA, who gives us the break-ins and the robberies and sex crimes and things like that. But collectively, perhaps maybe there could be a topic on some other, within some other plan or program to talk about creating a sense of safety within our neighborhoods.
I think that's a good suggestion. And one thing I'll be mentioning again at the town hall starting in a half an hour or so with a wider group is a group of us, Kathy Sellers, Jamie, and I met with Police Chief and some of his key lieutenants on Friday. And I attended just last week, the city swore in 10 new police officers as part of the cadet. And I'm told that there are 17 more in a class that is upcoming. You may recall a year ago, the City Commission voted unanimously to increase the police budget to fund these additional 10 officers. And along the way, there are retirements, attrition, and whatever. But if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, but I believe the effective increase in police in the coming months is going to be on the order of 20% or something like that. Something like that. So, and these folks, by the way, need to be trained, assimilated, trained, and whatever. So it's not going to happen overnight. Now, the commitment or the budget intent a year ago was 8 of those 10 officers would be for foot patrol in the downtown in Rosemary. And so that was the commitment at that time. I think we got a soft commitment from the chief that by the end of the year we'll start seeing some visible signs of that. And so I think they're really on board, and they have the money. I believe the police force's officers now comes out 80 in the area of 80 or something like
probably said 90, but yeah.
80 or 90, but maybe back up above the levels it was, pre-economic stress time 10 or 12 years ago. So I think the city is listening and has put the money where the mouth is. I will say this, that of the general fund budget, the police account for 51% of the general fund business. So, depending on how you look at it, that's a lot of money, but it's a lot of commitment. And, the police certainly are impressive to me in the way they are talking about our needs and understanding the developments and growth downtown.
I think just to piggyback on that, one of the things that was brought up is they seem very open to and have ideas how to improve or to get neighborhood engagement, to make our neighborhoods more safe. So I think that was something that he would be willing to come in and speak with the neighborhood associations regarding that and what can be done on that. So they're very open to it.
Okay, moving ahead, I'm told I'm yet again not doing this exactly right. We need to call a board organizing meeting.
We need to close.
Okay, so we want to close the members meeting, and shall we open the board organizing meeting, Patrick? And so we'll call that to order. We welcome the new.
Move to adjourn the members meeting.
Move to adjourn the members meeting. Shall we? Okay.
I second.
All right.
All in favor?
Yes.
We are adjourned as a members meeting. Okay, now I call to order the board organizing meeting and welcome the new directors. At this point, we would wish to elect officers. And,
I'll move to nominate David Lough as continue as president.
Second.
any discussion?
Hearing none, move that we close the nomination.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. And then as far as vice president, shall we have a nomination for our vice president?
Change maybe is
I move that we nominate Jamie Still vice president.
Second.
And any further conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right. And then secretary, I would, any,
Yes.
I'll move to nominate Judy.
Second.
in only discussion I would have, you've been phenomenal.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Judy. And with that said, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then as far as treasurer?
Clark. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think, is that all we got? And I think at this point, shall we move to adjourn the board organizing meeting and adjourn our session for today. So we look forward to seeing you all in a few minutes for the start of our town hall. So,
And David, we have a regular board meeting.
oh yeah, and we have a regular board meeting tomorrow. It's going to be abbreviated at 4 p.m. only on Zoom. So it's abbreviated and being respectful for Passover starting later that evening. So thanks, and hope I'll see some of you tomorrow on Zoom. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.